Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's body image and fitness coach. Today, I'm chatting with the lovely Tahnee, who is a WBFF pro who came from a dancing background where you're subjectively chosen in accordance to your appearance first. So for our dancers out here, you may relate to today's podcast. And Tahnee actually moved into the fitness space as a way to celebrate the difference amongst women rather than comparing them, which is so beautiful. And we're going to actually be covering a lot about that today in comparison to bodybuilding as well. Now, her coaching style is embracing confidence, education, strength, and femininity. And we all know how lately in this day and age we've been embracing more of the masculine and the feminine energies, and thanks to Tahnee we're going to be talking more about this. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on.
I'm excited to have you. Now, for those who don't know, your background in fitness and health, would you mind telling them what got you started in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So my fitness journey obviously began as a dancer. So I knew from a young age as a teenager that I really wanted to dance. That was all I wanted to do. I could not think of anything else that I wanted to do more. Moving into the space, obviously it started out as a bit of fun, a bit of movement. And then I quickly learned, I suppose, as you do, that when you want to take it to a more professional level, that the expectations become a lot harder on the body. So I know that you've danced previously, so you can probably relate to this as well. A lot of your auditions and everything, it's a straight cattle call. So before you're judged on your talent, your ability, anything like that, you're looked up and down and assessed whether you are even the right look before you can even show your talent or show your dancing. So I think I grew quite a quick skin quite quickly. Particularly through a lot of auditions that I've done, even with things like theme parks or Disney, they'll come up to you, they'll have an iPad with a facial recognition technology to assess whether you have an aesthetic face or not. So I guess I became really desensitized to those things. I just thought that was so normal. I thought it was so normal for the girls around me to be eating the foods that they were eating and things like that. So I think fitness for me really stemmed from more of an unhealthy side, restricting calories, all of those fun things, into celebrating it and celebrating being able to, I suppose, move along that journey, go from being, okay, I want to be thinner, I want to be smaller, I want to have smaller legs or longer legs, or just constantly wanting to change the appearance, into I get to choose what I want to look like. I get to choose exactly who I want to be, and my fitness journey can be a reflection of that. So that's kind of when I moved from dancing into the fitness space.
I love that. What a beautiful transition, because a lot of dancers, well, I've found this anyway, we have thick skin.
Mm-hmm. Very thick.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, us, even before we're able to show our talents, they are literally judging us from the get-go of our looks. And God, it's bringing up so many memories of like people just looking at you on stage and going, yep, no, and you're like, oh my God, am I good enough? Like, and like deep down inside, we know that we're good. Like this is why we're on stage right now, to be part of this dancing community or this competition, whatever it is. But still, you still doubt yourself inside, going, oh, am I going to be picked?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like as well, you will, honest to God, hear 100 no's to get one yes. The things that I've been told, and it's the most ridiculous thing sometimes, I've been told, you've got the wrong eyebrows, You're not being chosen because you've got the wrong eyebrows. Your legs are too big. You're too short. You've got too much regrowth. Just the most ridiculous things. And sometimes, you know, in a performance space, it could literally be that you don't match the girl that they already want. They have somebody who's going to dance on the left, and you just don't look like you match them to dance on the right. So thick skin, definitely a necessity back then.
And speaking of thick skin, when you got into competing as, you know, a bodybuilder, can you like relate your journey as a dancer to your relationship right now with bodybuilding? Is it quite similar, having that thick skin?
I always thought that it would be very different. I thought that it would almost fall into the same category of, okay, here I am, I'm trying to please a new set of judges or a new set of people and trying to fit into whichever criteria for the federation that I want to compete in. But I think because of where I came from in dancing, I had such a different approach. So the way that I like to compete or change my physique is I think about everything that I want to change. What do I want to achieve with my physique? Whether it be I want to bring up my shoulders or I want to bring up my glutes or, you know, create more of an hourglass figure. I create my dream body, or I try to anyway. I try to create my dream body, and then I see where that falls in line with the criteria or the federation that I'm being judged in. So I'm quite lucky with WBFF that, you know, our bikini criteria is a little bit more, I'd like to say, realistic or a little bit more achievable. We don't have to get super, super lean. We can have a little bit of a higher body fat percentage. So for me, at the end of the day, if I'm happy with my body, the opinions of the judges don't matter. You know, winning or placing, it's a cherry on top. It's an amazing achievement, but I have to live in my body for the rest of my life. The judges see me for one day. So if I'm happy with how I look, regardless of how I place the next day, the next week, the next month, I'm still happy and able to improve from there instead of thinking, oh my goodness, I'm completely the wrong look again. You know, feeling those feelings, I guess, that I felt when I was a dancer.
I want us to chat more about this because we know it's very common for competitors to have a certain goal or a certain perspective of what they're wanting to look like on show day. And yes, you know, we're always wanting to look our best. And, you know, as a previous competitor, when you're working towards a certain goal, you're wanting to look a certain look. You know, there's a certain criteria, and every federation has different criteria. And like you said, with WBFF, it's slightly more of a high body fat percentage. It's still quite slim, but yet everyone is striving from the same goal. And I love the fact that you mentioned that, yes, the trophy or becoming a pro is the cherry on top. However, you're still working towards a realistic goal in your mind, not in someone else's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of the time competitors, usually first-time competitors, can go wrong, is they look up to their idol or somebody that they aspire to be, somebody they aspire to look like. They absolutely destroy themselves in prep. They give 110% to hopefully achieve that. And then after the show, they're not happy. And that's usually when it cycles into, you know, the weight gain and the unhealthy patterns that can follow a competition prep too.
Has that ever happened to you? Like, have you competed once and you're like, oh my God, I've hated this so much?
My first competition, I reversed so poorly. It was terrible. You know, a lot of weight gain very quickly. I just didn't have the mental stamina to reverse out. I was tired. I had gone above and beyond for that prep, so that when it was time, show day was over, didn't place or didn't, you know, win how I wanted to. I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. And again, I think that prep in particular taught me a lot about, you know, how I like to prep in the future. So I'm not as rigid in my preps, even though I still do put in 110%. I'm not as strict on myself with those goals or those expectations. So now I give myself that little bit of leeway. And then it also just helps, even telling myself when I'm prepping. So instead of saying, okay, I've got a 20-week prep, 20 weeks, and then I'm done, out. I go, okay, well, it's not a 20-week prep. It's more like a 30-week prep, a 35-week prep. You know, show day is not the end of prep. we still have to reverse out. So we're not finished yet. And having or changing that time goal really helps me keep it a little bit more healthy as well.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because, like you said, you've made the mistake. I have made the mistake as well. And I'm sure our listeners who have competed previously going, oh my God, it wasn't just me.
Too.
It was, yeah. But the
It's
thing
hard.
is, it is. And it's something that not many people talk about openly because A, they feel guilty or ashamed about the fact that they, rebounds or didn't have that mental capacity, as you mentioned, to do the actual reverse style of dieting. But I also really love that you mentioned that it's not just a 20-week prep, it's a 30, it's a 35-week prep. And people don't take that into consideration post-comp. You still have work to do post that show.
Absolutely. And every single time I'll talk to competitors, whether it's clients or posing clients, and we're talking about a reverse plan or something to put in place, and they're like, I'll be fine. I'm really good with my foods. Like, I feel super in control. We all feel super in control when that goal is in mind, when we know that we're about to step on stage in a bikini or whatever it may be and be judged on our body. Post show, when you don't have that goal, it is so much harder not to go over your calories or have a little bit of extra chalky, because there's nothing stopping you anymore. The only thing stopping you is yourself. So yeah, I've definitely made that mistake before.
When you made that mistake, what happened during that time? Like, how were you able to bounce back from it?
So I gained probably about 10 kilos within 4 weeks after that show. I just did everything wrong. I didn't check in with my coach, or I wasn't completely honest with the things that I was eating. I would just say, oh, look, not feeling well this week, we'll just skip check-in, but everything's going great, all good, I didn't reach out. I wasn't vulnerable, and therefore that support wasn't there. So I didn't have that support system. So for me to kind of turn it around, I went, what's done is done. You've gained the weight. Not successfully reversed so far. That's okay. All you can do from here on out is try. So I, instead of trying to reverse out or go back to lower calories, I just stayed at what I predicted would have been my new maintenance calories. So I was on a little bit higher, therefore I didn't feel as restricted. Something else that I would do, I usually like to follow a loose meal plan when I prep, just for like digestion. It just helps me. So instead of feeling like I had to eat those same foods that were on my meal plan, is I would have a flexible Friday. So I could eat my meal plan for most of the week, and then on a Friday I could have a little bit of fun trying to play with my macros. And then that way, if I was a few grams under or over, it wasn't a great big deal because I wasn't going over 7 days a week. I was then going over 1 day a week. So, and then once I kind of felt like my weight was regulating a little bit, dropping, nothing significant. I didn't drop a great deal of weight, but just kind of regulating again. Then I went straight into bumping my calories up and working into a building phase. So that I think that really helped me, or helped motivate me to make the improvements that I wanted to without fear of gaining too much body fat, because I'd already done the damage. It was already there.
Yeah, you're bringing up so many memories because like I bounced back really badly after my show. I'm pretty sure I actually gained about 7 kilos or close to 10 actually within 4 weeks as well. And it's crazy to know that so many women have experienced this as well, and some of them actually prevent them from competing again because of that mistake that they made, which is a shame. But again, we all live and learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing with competing. I feel you'll either love it or you'll never do it again. After that first show, depending on that experience and whether you learn from, okay, this is what I did this time and, what I would like to change for next time, or you go, absolutely not. I don't want to deal with that post show, the emotions, the hormones, everything that comes along with it, and you just shove it away like it never happened, and sometimes look at your comp pics for a throwback.
Yeah. It's so true. And you know what, to be honest, there was a time where I was quite ashamed and guilty of the fact that I bounced back not bounced back, but I reversed really poorly. And I looked at that journey going, oh my God, what did I do? My whole I lost my period, I gained weight. There was just like a whole bunch of stuff that happened, where now I can actually look back and laugh at that experience and go, oh my God, like silly me. I was 20 years old. Like,
Yeah.
like you don't know what you don't know. Where now with the extension of education that I have, I can actually educate women better how to position themselves in a healthier manner to whether it is competing or finding some form of like body composition goal.
Yeah, definitely. And it is for whatever reason. I'm not sure if it was your first time when you
Yeah,
competed,
it
but
was.
yeah, yeah. So that first initial time that you lose a lot of body fat, it just happen it happens so quickly. It's almost
Yeah.
like beginner's luck. It just falls off, you know. And time after time after time, when you go back into a deficit, it becomes harder. So
Yeah.
same thing, associating that guilt with why did I gain so much weight post show when it was so easy for me to get it off, and obviously then trying to lose the post show weight is a lot harder as well. You never, well, I'm not going to say never, but it's very hard to get back down to the initial starting weight once you have put on after your first show.
Yeah. And especially like you mentioned, like post, post that show and the gain weight, you also mentioned that you weren't checking in with your coach. You were
Mm.
doing the complete opposite of what
Doing
someone
a
should
runner.
be doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just like, well, if we're not communicating this with a support network, how are we going to actually excel and become better?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like now, even though I'm more experienced and probably a little bit more self-sufficient, I will check in with my coach so religiously. Good days, bad days, whether I'm like, whether it be I've gone and I've compared some photos, and instead of just looking at those photos and reflecting, being like, yeah, good on me, that was good, I send it to my coach. Hey, look what we did. How cool is this? Just to also, I guess, reaffirm or gain that affirmation like, yes, that's a good job. Well done. Or, okay, you're not feeling so great. Why are we not feeling so great? You know, how is
Mm.
your sleep? Where are you at in your cycle? What are other things that could be contributing to this? How is your mood? Things like that. So it's such a valuable tool to have a coach.
Definitely. And again, like for those, like, I'm sure you can relate to this, but at the beginning of my fitness my fitness journey, it was quite lonely because the people that I was hanging out with had no concern about their health or their fitness. It was literally like go out, get fucked up, either drunk,
Mm-hmm.
drugs, whatever, stay up all night. When I started changing my lifestyle, I was like, well, doing this on like independently is quite challenging. So that's when I hired my first coach, and then I realized the value of actually having a supportive person in your life going, cool, like this is happening, you're achieving this, let's change that and adapt to this. And you really realize that you need that support during your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you find your new community as well. So same sort of thing.
Mm.
I did my first comp when I was about 20 or 21. And it's not that I moved away from the friends that I had at that time, but they were in a different stage of their life and I was kind of done with the partying and wanted to move into the fitness. So even having a coach and being able to meet other team members or other competitors at the gym, you find your own community of like-minded people, and that support helps keep you pushing as well. Or post show, like I'll catch up or I'll see people from the gym now post show and they'll be like, how's everything going? How are you feeling? And just knowing that you have that constant support of those around you in your community is so helpful as well.
Mm. And I think people who haven't had coaches before don't really realize the amount of work and support us coaches give our clients. I think they're like, oh, it's just another expense. It's just like, no, actually, this is like the best investment you're going to ever make towards your lifestyle. And it's not saying that you have to stay with it, with that coach for the rest of your life, but giving it a good 1-2 years to actually learn and adapt, a healthier lifestyle is so beneficial, because for those who are continuously doing it independently, end up having a longer duration to get to that goal because they keep guessing and umming about it.
Absolutely. And I used to do the same thing before I had my first coach. I was Googling the most ridiculous things. I've tried every trend you can imagine, I promise you. And it didn't work. It didn't work. So when I moved into having my first coach, I suppose I didn't also get as much out of the experience as I should have, because it was more of I was happy to just do what I was told. If I was told to eat this, do this session, do this cardio, I would do it and I wouldn't ask questions, which is great as a client to be nice and compliant. But after that experience, I came out and I went, well, I don't really know why I did this, or why did I do my cardio after my weight session or whatever it may have been. So from that point on, not in a rude way, but I would question everything. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm happy to do this, but why? Why are we doing this? Or, I might be feeling low in energy today. Why is that? Why? And just really being able to learn from so many people around you. And same sort of situation, you don't have to have that same one coach, but being able to have different mentors or the information that's available nowadays. Like, we're so lucky that it's at our fingertips. So I think that's really helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. And I think asking the questions is very important. Like you said, for us not knowing what our coach is actually giving us and then just guessing and then coming out of that experience, not knowing how to do it independently, can make the situation a little bit harder as well.
Absolutely. And then when I was trying to, after that first competition, when I did gain weight, when I was trying to find my footing again, I thought that I had to eat the exact same foods that I ate when I was in prep. I was like, the only way, and then again, back then it was very bro diet, chicken, broccoli, rice, those sorts of things. So I was like, the only way I'm ever going to lose weight is if I eat chicken and rice. I just have to eat chicken and rice. That's going to be my life. So it wasn't until, you start educating, you start learning that you go, okay, that's not the case. We can live a little as well.
100%. Oh my God. I remember after competing that after competing that I did not want to eat rice and chicken for a really long time.
Don't even want to look at it. Don't even talk to me.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And back to the conversation around coaching and checking in and questions. I think it's a very powerful tool as, we're coaches, but we also have coaches as well. So as clients, questioning what your coach is giving you is such a powerful tool, because I find that we'll be able to understand it better long term, instead of coming out of that relationship going, what do I do now? I haven't learned anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually think that it really depends on your coaching style as well, because I do know that some people prefer not to educate within their coaching because it does make a client more reliant on them as well. So you do really need to make sure that you find a coach that is educating you, that is sharing things with you, and that is not just trying to keep you from a business point of view as well, that they're genuinely trying to help you.
That is powerful. And I think that's not spoken openly enough about, because I've experienced that before, unfortunately, where I had someone help me in quotations. And I felt I was relying on them because I wasn't being educated enough to do it on my own.
Exactly. And yeah, it just, I get it from a business point of view, but you're going to have better relationships with clients when you actually teach them, educate them, because they want to learn more from you. They're not just going, well, I'm following A to B. I'm bored. I don't know what to do anymore. And then they'll just go find another coach anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if you do this the same with your clients, but when I get clients on board, I educate them on, their programs as well. I'll actually explain to them exactly why they're doing this specific training program, why they're following a meal plan or they're not following a meal plan, like the different directions that we take them, so they have a better grasp of what's actually happening, and giving them a really nice pathline of their time with coaching with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so helpful. Particularly even just mapping out the phases. So whatever the client's goal may be. Okay, so for the next, 8 to 12 weeks, this is what we're focusing on. If we're successful in those 8 to 12 weeks, or we've achieved what we're hoping to, then we move into phase 2, which is, whatever it may be. And something I also really like to do with my girls is giving them options. So, are you able to track your calories and your macros? Have you done that before? Do you know how to do that? Is that something you're happy to, start to learn straight away? Or would you prefer to start with a meal plan while you get on your feet, take the guesswork out of it, and then through that, maybe we can use one day as a tracking day, like a flexible Friday. I love my flexible Fridays.
Yeah.
So, we can do something like that so it's not too overwhelming at the start and the girls can kind of find their feet. And then from there, I usually find that they start to go, okay, well, today I don't feel like whatever's on my meal plan for Thursday. And then they start to learn how they can swap those things out while still keeping within their same macro targets as well. So I feel like I've actually seen a couple of videos with toddlers, and it's a psychology thing as well. Being able to give options also helps the client feel more in control.
I find that so interesting because it's really taking me back to when I first started my coaching experience. And you might relate to this as well. But when I first started, there were no options. It would literally just be my way or the highway. And God,
Yeah.
I just want to make an announcement and apologize to all my old clients who had, experienced that, because looking back now, there was no options of, oh, do you want to track macros? Yeah, cool, let's do that. Do you want to do mindful eating? Yeah, cool, let's do that. No, it was literally like, get the scales out, let's do
This
this,
is what
let's
you're
eat that.
doing.
Yes. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. And I don't know if it was because, like I said, it has been quite a while since I studied my PT certs. I don't know if it's just that's what I was taught. Like when I was a personal trainer at one of the gyms, it was a very rigid process. This is what you do. This is how you do a consult. This is what you do for a first free session with a client. And then you take them to the specific area that we would then have to take them to try and convert them into a paying client and things like that. So I don't know if it was just something we learned and we were able to verbal vomit back onto our first few clients, but definitely the same experience in the beginning.
Okay. I'm glad it's not just me.
Nah, it's me too. We live and we learn.
100%. That old saying, like, you don't know what you don't know. And back when we first started, we were literally either taught or we were seeing other people do that. So we thought, oh, cool, well, they're doing it, we'll be doing that as well.
Yeah. Even the funny myths, like I think back to some of the things that I was taught, like, fasted cardio is superior and your body can only metabolize 30 grams of protein at a time. And all of these things that I would have religiously believed and taught my clients back in the day. So thank goodness for education along the way.
I know we've come a long way. We really
Definitely. It's
Yeah,
good. It's good.
100%. Yeah, it seriously. And speaking of, coming a long way with you and competing as well, as you mentioned earlier, you've been embracing more of the physique that you're working towards for instead of, subjectively trying to achieve a body because everyone else is working towards the same goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I get asked this question all of the time. What was your feedback from your last show? What have you been working towards? Things like that. And to be honest, since earning my pro card, my feedback I haven't had a lot of physical feedback. But for me, I'm not going to stay the same. Just because I haven't been told, hey, you need to improve X, Y, and Z. I want to improve things for me. Or even if I was told, make sure you don't bring up your upper body too much, or as an example, if I really want nice, big, juicy shoulders or whatever it may be, that's the physique that I'm going to aim for. That's what I'm going to work towards so that I feel happy and I feel confident in bringing something new to the stage every time I compete. And obviously, particularly in bikini, we are the smaller build of the categories. So making sure that physique wise, as an example for my legs, I don't particularly want to grow my quads or my hamstrings anymore. If I did, that would probably mean that I would move into a different category. So it's not that I'm not training those particular body parts because I don't want to move into another category. It's that the current shape of them or the current size of them is what I enjoy for my physique. So I'm able to improve on the things that I really want to, and also, back off or detrain the things that I, don't really want to as well.
It's so important. What are some of your goals going into your next competition?
I would love to grow me some more glutes because your girl loves glutes. I think we can never have enough. I also just really enjoy training them. I think it's something that I really enjoy. For me, I would also like to bring up my back a little bit more, just to help with I love a good hourglass taper, and probably just coming in a touch more conditioned. Nothing too over the top or too lean, but just a little bit more for me, I would like to achieve. So that's what I'm working towards for the next one, but nothing too drastic because we don't have a great deal of time. Well, in bodybuilding terms, it's not a great deal of time. So it's about 39 weeks away. So it probably sounds like a long time to most, but as you would know from experience, that time absolutely flies. And it does take quite a while to be able to make substantial changes in a physique in a healthy way as well.
It literally does. And not just competing wise timeline, I think just lifeline in general, like 2 minutes ago, it was January 2022, and now it's December. Like, what? I mean, almost December. Yes.
It's crazy. Even COVID, like I was like, that was like last year. It's been nearly 3 years.
I know.
It just goes so quickly.
Yeah, it really does. So when does prep start? Have you already started prep?
So what I'll do at the moment, because I competed 2 weeks ago, is I've just jumped up to my predicted maintenance calories and I'll reverse out from here, go into a little bit of a build for the next 20 weeks, and then I'll start my deficit from 20 weeks out.
Yeah, beautiful. So at least you'll be able to enjoy Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to prep over Christmas. No way.
No one does.
No, honestly, I feel so bad for people who decide to compete in season A because most of them have to prep over Christmas. And I'm strong-willed, but the Christmas desserts, I don't know how I'd go.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I was actually having this conversation with a client. She's like, I'm not sure if I want to diet during the summer or just continue building. And I'm like, what does your heart desire? Do you actually want to be dieting, or do you want to enjoy your foods and, still work towards your strength goals? And she's like, yeah, I love food more.
Yeah, fair.
Like, why not?
Can relate. Oh, absolutely. And if you're already in a good place, you're building well or whatever she's doing, like there's no point stopping the momentum, keep it flowing.
Yeah, exactly. And just celebrating those wins as you move forward as well.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I think, whether competing or not, a lot of the time only weight loss or fat loss is celebrated. Here's my transformation. This is what it looks like and this is where I ended. But we don't as often see the reverse celebrated. So, this is where I started before my build and this is where I've ended up from my build. And that's such a critical point in the journey. That is so much more important than the fat loss phase. And that's something I always like to explain to my clients, is that whatever we do in the build is what we're actually working towards. That's the body that we're trying to achieve. When you go into a deficit or a mini cut or a comp prep, all we're doing is revealing the shape that you've built. We're not changing the shape. We're not adding to the shape. We're just revealing what's already there.
Such a great way of analyzing that, because too often everyone's focused on the end goal, not on the actual journey of you transitioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And life's too short. We can't pin everything on a day or an end point or an end goal. You really have to enjoy every single moment along the way. And that's why I love fitness so much, because even, working with clients, it can be something that might be considered a small win to me. It could be, you just nailed your calories for the day, but to that person, that is huge. That is, a big accomplishment. Or, being able to go, okay, maybe I'm not super comfortable in my skin at the moment because I'm building, but it's a big win that I'm persisting. I'm persisting and I'm not stopping myself. I am getting all of those calories in and I'm not going, oh, I'm getting scared. Let's do a mini cut. Or let's just pop back to maintenance for a bit. So that's the beauty of fitness, or the beauty of, that journey, is that so much more can be celebrated besides the end point.
100%. I love that. Besides that point, what's another point or a tip that you can give our listeners who are, wanting to exceed better in competing?
Take your time. Take so much time. Time is the best friend for competing. Find your why. And I know it sounds cliche. Everyone says, find your why, but it really has to be something beyond, I just want to get on stage and look good, or I want to achieve my dream body. I want to put competitor in my Instagram bio, or all of the other reasons that come along with it. Because unfortunately, it is a bit of a trend and people do compete for the wrong reasons. And that's when it can turn unhealthy post show. So really sit with yourself and say, why do I want to stand on stage in a bikini or in my trunks or thin wear, whatever division you do? Why? What do I get out of it? Is it a marketing tool for my business? Am I able to show off my prep as a way to, inspire people or gain clients? Like, what am I actually wanting to achieve out of it? And am I hanging everything on a placing, or am I hanging everything on how I look and how I feel on the day? So being able to measure your success on your own. I just want to be better than I was last year. I just want bigger glutes than I had last year. I want to be more conditioned. If you measure your own success, you'll always win. If your measure of success is whether you get a medal or a trophy at the end of it, you can't guarantee that you're going to win.
You can't guarantee anything.
Can't, absolutely not. It's such a subjective sport.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know what? You have to have that thick skin to do it as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it helps.
because definitely, because the judges, they have no shame. They're going to literally tell you whatever you don't want to hear.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing, is sometimes I'll have, competitors say to me, oh, but I looked like the winner last year, or I look more like this, and things like that. It can literally be a personal preference on the day. It could be that your bikini, the color of your bikini didn't stand out. It could be that your tan or your peak, or, your protocols through that last week just weren't quite right. It can be the tiniest things. So it's really important to be okay with yourself and your own self-worth, so that when you place wherever you place, that doesn't crush you.
100%. I love that. So good. Tahnee, thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation just flew so nicely, from us talking about dancing to competing to coaching and check-ins, like full of information today.
Oh, good. A nice mixed bag of goodies. Thank you so much for having me. It's been
100%.
pleasure.
Oh, it's been so good. Now, how can our listeners find you? How can they, work with you if they're wanting to compete?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to do it, I suppose the modern way to do it, is just find me on Instagram. So my username is at Tahnee, TAHNEE .Sheehan, SHEEHAN. Lots of E's.
All the E's.
All the E's.
I love that. Well, girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Tahnee, tag myself. And then till next time, really evaluate if you're wanting to compete or not. And if you do, then, get that thick skin on you.
Thicken it up, baby.